So on Sunday night, what were you doing? And just walk us through what happened.
So on Sunday night around 10:15 p.m., I was in my room and I was playing my game as usual, and I heard a loud bang. At first, I didn't realize it was a door knock. I thought it was just like someone banging on the bathroom door because they thought I was in there, but I wasn't. Then I heard it again, and it was louder the next time. So I sprinted to my door without checking the windows or who was at the door, and I opened it. And as soon as I open the door, I see these guys in front of me, and they're holding guns, and it looks like there's one in a police uniform. And he's the one that speaks to me first. He says, we're looking for a missing girl. We were given this address, and we were given your name, and we were told that she's here, so we're gonna intern. And that's when I told him, no, you can't come in, this is my house. And I'm assuming, well, these people told me that they related to the missing girl that they were looking for. And I told them that she wasn't here and that I don't have the missing girl that you're looking for. And that's when they began to still try to come in. So then that's when my mom came in. And
I was asleep because it was at, I go to bed pretty early. So 10 o'clock, I'm asleep. And like you said, we hear the knock on the door. And I hear it again. And then I look out my bedroom window and I see all these people with the long flashlights all surrounded my door. And I went to the front door, came out of my bedroom, went into the living room, and by the time I got in the living room, he had already opened the door. And when I got closer, he was trying to close the door. They were trying to push their way in. And so, me being the mother that I am, I'm going to protect my children. I made him step all the way back to the very end of the living room. And because the crowd was just really they were angry. And I did not know still what was going on. And then, like you said, the individual that was in the front had a law enforcement uniform on. He never stated who he was. He never stated what agency he was from. He just said, I'm going to step inside, close the door, and talk to you guys. And I said, no, you're not. And he had his foot on the threshold of my door, holding the door open. And he said it again. He said, I'm going to step inside, close the door, and talk to you. And I said, no, you're not. And the whole time, there's the other guy to the right of me pointing at him, saying, they gave us this address and they gave us your name. And I kept asking, what name did they give? I still didn't know why they were at my door. Look, and another person came lunging towards us, and someone in the crowd held him back to keep him from coming in the house. But the whole time, of course, I noticed the weapon on the law enforcement's hip, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I kept telling my son, I need you to sit down and calm down. I do not come close to us, because I didn't know if they would have felt threatened, what would have happened. And then, the whole time, like I said, I'm just worried that the worst would have happened.
In this day and age, did this shock you that some sort of mob showing up at your house to ask for your son would happen in 2020?
Yes. I'm still in shock. I'm literally like, I don't sleep well. I'm still in shock. Because I've always had a conversation with him about the reality of the world. But I never thought that I ever had to have a conversation where he had to feel unsafe in his home. I mean, that's our safe haven. That's where we're supposed to feel safe. And I was being questioned as to whether or not this was my house. Like, you live here? Like, this is your house? I never thought I had to deal with that. I'm very disappointed.
And why do you think you said that? This community is
predominantly white. And that's never been an issue for us, because I've always raised him in a predominantly white neighborhood. But to question whether we belong here, I felt like it was too much. And the whole time he's in the background, almost about to fall apart, because he's thinking, because he relayed that to me, I opened the door and they're going to hurt my mom. And I'm saying, I need you to stay back so they don't hurt you. Because when emotions are going, things can happen. But we have to not put ourselves in that situation. Coming to the door like that with a mob of people with guns, what do we expect? What were the intentions? Like, what if he was the person that they were looking for? Or what if I was not at home? What would have happened? I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want him to be a statistic. I mean, it's scary.
Will you tell us a little bit more as far as how many people do you think were at your door, and once your mom came forward and kind of pushed you back, I mean, what was going through your mind as you kind of backed up and saw her go into it?
And how many had weapons?
Well, when I opened the
Sure they had
door,
weapons.
I wasn't shocked because I wasn't expecting to see people with weapons at my door, especially in the type of neighborhood I live in, starting off. But about around the time whenever my mom came out and she grabbed me, I didn't want to get back because I was like, I don't want you to deal with this because I'm the only guy, I'm the only man in the house at the moment. So I wanted to go to the door, so I ran to the door and I wanted her to step back, but she didn't want me to go up there because she felt like I was in danger. So she began to pull me back, and I was upset because she was at the door and I was forced to sit down and I couldn't do anything about what was going on at the time. So it made me feel really upset that she had to deal with that, and I was sitting there just watching it all happen. Like, what if that always goes on in my head whenever I think about the situation every day.
How did they eventually leave, and what happened at that point? It sounds like you had people started coming out. I mean, your neighbors were...
Our neighbors, they had already noticed the cars, because it was about 3 cars that came in all the way to the very end of the street and stopped, and they witnessed someone walking down the street with an AR, assault rifle, and they did not realize everything that was going on at my house until afterwards. And the way that they stopped is my son kept chanting. He kept saying his name over and over again, because the person that they were looking for was a different name than my son. And they finally said it, and he kept saying over and over again his name. He said, my name is Dameon Shepard. I go to Laney High School. I did not go to Topsail. I do not know. I don't have any friends in Topsail. He just kept chanting over and over again. And finally they stopped and said, wait, you didn't go to Topsail? He said, no, my name is Dameon. My name is Dameon. It was like he had to keep saying it. And that's when they stopped.
And who is they when they're referring to they told us that he lived here at this address?
He never said. He never said, because they were all civilians. They weren't, the only person that was in a uniform was the individual that was in the center of the door. Everyone else were civilians. We later found out that, of course, Penn County was out looking for the girl, but they didn't know where she was. And so there was no information given about an address. There was no information given about, because what we've later found out is that locations were popping up everywhere as to where she was. In all those places they were going on other neighborhoods, but she was not at those locations. So we don't even know why, but as far as they never said who they was, who gave the name, who gave the address.
And can you walk us through what happened when Hanover County Sheriff's deputies showed up here and what they communicated to you?
Can I ask one question, please?
Sure.
Be specific with them about who was standing where and who. You told me there was an AR-15 and a shotgun, and 2 people standing right there.
Mm-hmm.
So tell them exactly who's directly in front of you, what kind of weapons they had. It wasn't just the police officer. so-called police officer.
Right.
Okay.
You wanna, when they open the door.
So I hear the knock. I open the door, and when I open the door, the first thing I can see is a guy with a large beard holding a flashlight. He is standing to the left of me, or the right of me. He is standing to the right of me, and I see a man in a uniform, and he's standing to the left of me. He has his hand on his waist about the whole time I'm up there at the door, and he was on the left of me, and then about in front of me and 3 people down. Well, the rest of the people that were in front of me were shoulder to shoulder. The only 2 people that were separated from the group was the guy with the beard and the flashlight and the man in the uniform. The first person right in front of me, he was holding a rifle. He was holding a AR. And about 2 more people down, 3 more people down, shoulder to shoulder lined up in front of my porch, there was a guy holding a shotgun. And the rest were unarmed, but they were all out of uniform. There was nobody in uniform. Everybody else was just civilians.
And the man wearing the uniform, what did he look like? How tall was he roughly?
He was about my height, maybe 5'10". He was a white guy. He had about brownish hair. He wasn't really heavy set. He was a bit like, wouldn't call him skinny, but about my size, exactly.
So yeah, can you walk us through what happened when Hanover County Sheriff's deputies arrived?
Well, the reason they arrived is one of my neighbors called them because she had already witnessed the individual in the law enforcement uniform and knew that was not a Pender County law. So she called the Pender County non-emergency line and asked if someone could come out here to the house. So the 2 deputies arrived, pulled out right in front of the house, and by that time the neighbors were all came towards the house to either tell them what was going on or to find out what was going on as far as why these people going around in the neighborhoods, you know. And they said to us that there was a girl that was missing. But they said, you know, they didn't really know where she was. And that was pretty much all of the conversation we had with them. And then my neighbors called the captain to come out. And then the captain came here and he had the deputy take a statement from us. Just to see what happened, you know, with the incident here.
Did some of the people that were there earlier follow the sheriff's department here?
They came back.
Yeah.
So the people that were here that came up into our property, they left, but then when the Pender County sheriff deputies came, those people came back.
Did they talk to you? Did they
They
say
did.
anything?
The father just kept saying they were sorry, or the guardian, whoever that was. He just kept saying he was sorry. But they just all stood around.
And have you heard any word on why there have been no charges pressed at this point?
No, they came back on Monday and took a statement from us. And they say they're just going to be doing some paperwork and update us on the next steps.
What do you want to see happen? What would make you feel like you got some justice or sense of peace back here at your house?
I think when you break the law, there needs to be some recourse. And that was definitely some laws that were broken. It wasn't just a friendly visit. I mean, there's laws in place for a reason. And when you break them, you need to be held accountable. So those that broke the law, they need to be held accountable for it. Because if I'd done it, who knows? I mean, I probably wouldn't be sitting here if I went to somebody's house with guns. They'd probably shoot me. But if they didn't, then I'd get arrested. I'd be charged. I'd be sitting on the side of the street in handcuffs. It's not acceptable.
Do you feel a sense of support from some of your neighbors? Some of them, obviously.
All of them. We're a very tight-knit neighborhood. We have a great community here. And every single one of the neighbors all around Immediately when they started hearing disturbances, they started turning on lights. They were activating Ring cameras. They came out. They started talking to us, helping us get through this. They're awesome, and they're still right here beside us, helping us, supporting us.
What's the common feeling in the neighborhood in response to
Shock. Absolute shock. Still, I mean, we still talk about it every day. Like, we cannot believe this happened in our neighborhood, in our community, you know, to one of our neighbors. Because if it happens to one, it happens to all.
Have you ever oh.